Amen. We have been called into a time and space of worship. And we know that people come into the place that is Wedgewood with so many different needs and desires. And so there are some of us here who came for a good word, who want to receive a word that teaches us something we need. There are others who came because we need a place of respite. This week has been hard, or this month, or this year, or this life, and we need a place where we can feel like we can rest. There are some who have come because they are so full of joy and light that they feel like they need to spread that in a place that is welcoming. Whatever the reason why you are here today, we welcome you and we are grateful for your presence. There are some people who have come back home. We haven't seen them in a little while, but they're back. And so we are grateful for that as well. So for all of you who are here on this morning, we invite you, I invite you to practice with me, setting the space of intentional and extravagant welcome. And so if you will either read along in your bulletin or here on the screen behind me, I will be the voice of the one, and you all will be the voice of the many. We are all welcome here.
Welcome to a church that works for peace, justice, equality, and care of Mother Earth.
An extravagant welcome to you, regardless of your gender identification or sexual orientation, ethnicity, economic situation, physical and mental challenges, doubting or believing, being depressed or full of joy.
We are a community of curious and creative spiritual seekers, striving to learn and embody the way of Jesus and other religious leaders.
Like Jesus, we focus on the plundered and the marginalized as we try to address the major issues of our day.
One of the ways we seek to heal the world and ourselves is through sharing parts of our personal story.
We are all welcome here. Amen. And in that spirit of welcome, in just a moment, I will invite you to stand as you are able and to practice the left hand of fellowship. We call it the left hand of fellowship in honor of Reverend Dr. Nancy Leddens, and she was a great mother of the Wedgewood Church who spent the last few years of her life worshiping and leading and providing deeply spiritual community with us before she passed on and went on to her next great adventure. But she was the first acknowledged transgender Roman Catholic priest and was actually excommunicated for that. But she continued to stay true to the calling that was placed in her life, and we are grateful for that. But all of her life, she experienced people trying to make her something that she was not. It started even when she was a young girl, but people were trying to say she was a boy. But even when she was a young girl, she was left-handed, and people would try to make her right-handed, except for her grandfather. Her grandfather purposely gave her things in her left hand. And so in honor of that truth, that quiet resistance and affirmation of who she was, and the power of her ability to be able to walk in the fullness of herself in spite of all those other messages, we practice the left-handed fellowship. So basically that just means you stand up, you walk around, you greet each other, show each other some love and appreciation and say, I see you, I'm glad you're here. And just be mindful that we have different levels of touch needs here in the sanctuary. So for some people, that'll be a hug. For some people, a high five. For some people, maybe a head nod. So don't be offended. People may not want you to touch them, but it doesn't mean they don't want you to feel welcome. So at this time, I invite you to stand up and greet one another with the love of Christ. Yes, every day. Yes, every day. You're sweet in the day.
Our worship piece for today is I Need You to Survive, found lyrics on your PowerPoint.
us today. Let's give them some applause. I think we have some other poets in the congregation. I know we've got John Slay. Anybody else do poetry? I heard about some poetry from you this morning. Yeah. Well, come on up here. We're gonna do some poetry. Help me out, okay? 'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the house, not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. Okay, that's good. How about Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had. Wow. What's some of your other favorite poems?
Well, first of all, I don't know why you would ask me when you got poets in the house. I'm so ADHD. One of my favorite poems is, oh God, you put me on the spot.
Children's poem?
Children's poem would be, oh gosh, we should have planned this better. I've had 30 minutes to prepare. All right, children's poem. What's your favorite children's poem?
I have one. Wait, I gotta look it up.
Look it up. And by the way, we're going to do a poem here in just a second. I'm going to write in my mind the first line. I'm going to see if you can write the second line, or just come up with the last word of the second line. Okay? It's going to be about the creation. Here you go.
You want to read it?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Sorry.
I don't know what it's called. I think it's Shel Silverstein. It says, if a person has ugly thoughts, it begins to show on the face. And when that person has ugly thoughts every day, every week, every year, the face gets uglier and uglier until it gets so ugly you can hardly bear to look at it. A person who has good thoughts cannot ever be ugly. You can have a wonky nose and a crooked mouth and a double chin and stick out teeth. But if you have good thoughts, they will shine out of your face like sunbeams, and you will always look lovely. It has pictures of the ugly. It makes me cry, sorry.
I love it. Are you trying to tell me I'm ugly? Okay, here's the poem we're going to create, okay? God, and not all poetry has to rhyme, but we're going to rhyme, okay?
I can do that, I think. I'm not a good wingman, but I'm going to do it.
God created a beautiful bird. What's something that rhymes with bird? Word.
And when I think about that bird, it makes me want to say a beautiful word.
And that bird made the most wonderful sound I ever heard. Okay, how about this one? God created the moon. What rhymes with moon? Tune?
It makes me want to sing a joyful tune.
And I want to see a full one soon. Whoa, okay. First line.
First line.
God created
the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. What rhymes with
in
the world.
In the world.
Right. Okay.
Oh,
what
God.
rhymes with world?
World.
A black pearl.
Yes, and it was a beautiful black pearl.
Thank you.
Wing woman.
Thank you.
It's my birthday back, guys. I'm sorry. A little long.
Okay.
Pearl.
Does anybody have a first line they want to do? God created, or
Does it have to rhyme?
no? It doesn't have to rhyme. It's Wedgewood. We're gonna pass. Okay, let's.
You can't do any worse than me, honey. You're
Let's
doing
let.
good.
Let.
You have something to say? She seems like she has something to say. No?
God created the wonderful. This is our last one. God created the wonderful beach. Teach. And while I was there,
It made me want to preach.
it made me want to preach. Which is kind of close to teach. All right, listen. God gave us creativity. So use it. Write things that inspire people to love the world and each other. Amen? Okay. Thank you.
Sorry, I'm the world's worst wingman when it comes to poetry. Sorry.
No, you did great.
Your right support. All right.
If you will please rise as you are able for the singing of our congregational hymn found in your red chalice hymnals, the big red one with the pretty gold lettering on page 99. Oh, how I love Jesus. We will sing verses 1 and 3. We will skip verse 2. We will sing verses 1 and 3, and we're going to skip verse 2. Page 99. No, 99 and a half, because it won't do, but page 99 in your chalice hymnal.
Maybe we need to get a prayer together.
Hold 1 second, please.
has it been a privilege to see movements of God, but I don't know about you guys, but have you been noticing the air in here has been changing? There's been a different sense of spirit in here. People have actually been opening up and warming up and having just encounters. It's not just coming anymore. It's not just coming and sitting in the pew. We're actually feeling spirit move. So it's been a real blessing. And personally, I'm very blessed, and I want to give thanks to God for just being able to see a lot of people that I know get to a space of growth, get to a place where they're no longer being held back by the chains of negativity. So I just want to give praise for that before we head on in. So if you've been online, maybe you've seen the graphic. Today's sermon is called Shadow Boxing. And we're going to what I want to focus on is Exodus 3:10-11, but where I want to start actually is going to be Exodus 3, verse 7. And we're going to work through it till we get to 11. So, the Lord said, I have seen my people suffer in Egypt. I've heard them cry out because of their slave drivers. I'm concerned about their suffering. So I have come down to save them from the Egyptians. I will bring them up out of the land. I will bring them into a good land. It has a lot of room. It has a land that has plenty of milk and honey. It is the home of the Canaanites, I always struggle with this, Hittites, there we go, Amorites, Perizzites. That one always looks like pizza to me, I'm not gonna lie. Hivites and Jebusites. And now Israel's cry for help has reached me. I have seen the way the Egyptians are beating them down. So now go. I am sending you to Pharaoh. I want you to bring the Israelites out of Egypt. They are my people. But Moses spoke to God. Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh? He said. Who am I that I should bring the Israelites out of Egypt? That's what I want to focus on. So come, I will send you to Pharaoh to bring my people, the Israelites, out of Egypt. But Moses said to God, who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and bring the Israelites out of Egypt? Shadow boxing, if you don't know, is a technique that boxers use to prepare for a fight. You might see them, that's when they're like all punching the air, looking kind of crazy. Rocky did it in his movie. He looked great. Running up the stairs, he's shadow boxing. Coincidentally though, this is also a psychological term used when people are fighting themselves. So, when I got this text, I was like, well, why is this relevant to us, God? Why we gotta bring this up? Like, it ain't on lectionary. I'm gonna preach on lectionary. It's all on time. He's like, don't worry about it. I'm working on my time. So, he says, and this is just a feeling, the relevance of this is because Wedgewood as a church is going to receive more people. The message is going to get stronger. We are a church for the justice and equality that God seeks to bring to earth. But the problem is, we can't bring any change until we address ourselves.
If you've noticed, there's been this real big call to action. Chris has been out here. He's like, come on, serve, serve, serve. You know, join in. Don't just sit there. There have been signs that have just been placed in the sanctuary. There have been signs that have just been placed in the sanctuary. I want to reiterate. There have been signs placed in the sanctuary for you, for us, to answer a call. And it dawned on me that maybe the issue isn't that we don't want to answer the call. Maybe we're like Moses. I don't even say maybe. A lot of us are like Moses. A lot of us are hearing the call and saying, who am I? Who am I that I can make an impact? Who am I that I can help anyone? Who am I to handle the charge? Now, a little backstory. We're going to break down some meat of the bones. When reading the text, your immediate thought is to go, Moses, how could you sit in front of God and ask all these questions? You're right in front of God. Am I right? I mean, I don't know, am I right? Don't. I'm asking questions. This is a participation sermon. Call back. If I'm stepping on your toes, it's okay. It's because it's time to move. If he is sitting in front of God, and he's seeing the glory of God in this burning bush, and he's spending most of the chapter, because we're very familiar with the story of Moses, he's like, hey, no, I stutter, I can't do this. Hey, no, who are you? I can't do this. And we want to sit there and go, well, Moses, how could you do that? It's God. It's God. Well, there's a very simple answer to that. Well, a complex answer to that. The issue is not just that Moses doesn't feel qualified. When he asks, who am I? What he's really saying is, I'm having an identity crisis. And it's very, very, very pivotal to understand Moses, because in the moment where he is encountering God, he's actually wrestling with himself. He's shadow boxing. So all that God is doing in this moment, all that God is trying to share with him, all that he is trying to confirm and affirm is shadowed because Moses doesn't even know who he is. And it's supported scripturally. He was born an Israelite, but yet he was raised by Egyptians. And by the time that he realizes, hey, these are my people, and he tries to incite some justice, he then has to flee Egypt, all that he knew, or quite frankly, all he really didn't know, and then go to Midian. And his conflict is so unbelievably evident that it pours into the birth of his son, his first son. In Exodus 2:22, he marries, his wife. But as soon as his child is born, Exodus 2:22 says, he named his son Gershom, for he said, I have been an alien residing in a foreign land. This man's pain was so deep, he named his child his infliction. He named his child alien. So by the time he reaches God, as much as we want to sit up there and say, oh, well, you should see all these things. It's God. He's glorious. You
perspective if you don't have a clear perspective of yourself? And by the time he's in this encounter, another issue shows up. And it's an issue a lot of us face. Moses knows of God, but doesn't know God. And I'm going to repeat that for you. Moses knows of God, but doesn't know God. There's a difference in intimacy. And it's very evident because when he gets in there, he has to actually be explained the process of how to encounter with God. He is told, take off your shoes, this is holy land. You don't explain yourself to somebody that already knows you. So God's sitting up here saying, hey, I'm going to walk you through this entire process. But Moses is like, I can't. I'm enticed, I'm intrigued, but I can't. When you're fighting with yourself, you have no room for God. And you cannot understand your importance to God through your own appraisal. What I mean to say is, when God puts something in you to do, when he puts a seed in you, when he calls you to do something, like come to a church that works for justice, peace, and equality, you have to operate on some faith that you're brought here because you yourself are a carrier of justice, peace, and equality. But if you're not careful, what you'll do is you'll walk in the sanctuary and you'll go, I'm here for justice, peace, and equality, but I can't. I'm overwhelmed by the world, so I can't. I know I'm supposed to be in this place. I know I'm supposed to make a difference. But you don't know me. You don't know what I've been through. You don't know what I've done. You don't know what's been done to me. You don't know how easy it is for me to make a mistake. You will come into your calling, whatever that might be, and it doesn't have to be lofty. It can be as simple as going, hey, Amber, you look nice today. It's just as simple as that. The truth of the matter is we are the sum of prayers that we have never known about. We are created with other people in mind. So God knew that maybe Amber got up that day and she was going to feel a little sad. And you woke up this morning and you were feeling extra good and you didn't know why you felt really extra good. So you're feeling good, you're like, yeah, this is great. And then you get up to the call and you go, you know what? She gonna look at me like I'm crazy. I don't even know her like that. I'm really moved to tell her that she looks beautiful today. I'm really moved to affirm who she is in this moment. But, you know, it's going to put me out there. I don't know how they're going to receive it. I don't know how, you know what, never mind. How many of us are guilty of that? Amen. The call doesn't have to be that big. But your perception of yourself makes the difference. Many of us are struggling with the ideas that we have about ourselves. And we are focused more on what we think we need to be in order to serve rather than who we were already qualified to be to serve. So, in essence, we are like Moses. We are shadow boxing. So what's the solution? because I'm not going to drag you down this whole entire rabbit hole of all the problems and not give you a solution. That would be a really bad sermon. That would be like totally dissipating spirit. Everybody would be like, ugh. First, let me say, if you are in this sanctuary right now, if you are watching online right now, I don't care where you are a leader. If you're sitting in the sanctuary right now, you are a leader. If this is your first time here, guess what? God's trying to affirm there's something in you. And I want to get it out. Yes, that was just for you. Honest to God. Honest to God. So, while we're sitting here with all of that, while we're sitting here, we're going, all right, Brian, I'm listening to you. You got some points. Okay, all right. But you still don't know. I don't have to know you. I don't have to know you. It's not important that I know you. Really, truly, it's not. Know you as a person, know that you're good, know that you're working towards something, yes. But the ins and outs of you, really none of my concern. And I don't say that to be mean. I say that to free and liberate people from the idea that I have to validate what God called you to do. You don't need to wait for me. You don't need to wait for her. You don't need to wait for Chris. You don't need to wait for Abel. You don't need to wait for Monica. Everything that you need is within God. And the solution to the problem is actually in the very next line. And I didn't put it up there because it's the kicker. And I was like, let me say this. It's magic. Exodus 3:12. God said, I will be with you. That's very important. Psalms 23 says, and we're very familiar with this, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Interesting enough, if you go to a different translation, it reads, the Lord is my shepherd, I lack nothing. To want and to lack are two different things in this day and age. When it was written, it was the same. When you want, doesn't necessarily mean that you need it or you're going to get it. But with God, you will never lack a single thing. Never lack. So Moses is sitting there and he's going, well, I'm lacking. You're sitting there and you're saying, well, I'm lacking. The space between who you think you should be and what needs to be done only needs to be occupied by God. I'm going to repeat that for you. This is you. This is who you think you should be. This is who you need to be to get it done. Notice how much space. That's your lack. That's where God fills. If you're sitting there and you're saying, well, I'm not so good. I kind of want to sing in the choir, but I'm not really good at singing. Guess what? You don't have to worry about being good at singing. Your providence is over there. Your providence is at the back. Your providence has been qualified to get you from the point where you think you can't sing to the point where you sing and you usher in the Spirit of the Lord in this sanctuary. Okay? Some of you have a seed. Some of you have a seed in you. Oh, God. Some of you have a seed of an idea that's for this church. But you haven't moved on it yet. You haven't moved on it yet. You're sitting, you're wrestling, you're like, I don't know. I don't really talk to Malou like that. Chris all over the place. Like, April cool and everything, but she know everything about the Old Testament. Like, no, I can't do it.
enough faith to trust that you have been placed in the right moment at the right time. And that once you take that step, the lack fills itself. All right? So, the solution is, there we go. Work with God.
Amen. Amen.
If you want to write it down, go ahead. If you want to take a screenshot, go ahead. You're going to need this season. Trust me. You are getting blessings. I'm going to say it again. You are getting blessings. You are getting blessings. You are getting blessings. I need you guys to receive it, because I don't know anybody that turns away a free car. A blessing is like a free car. You are getting blessings.
Amen.
In order to receive those, and in order to capitalize on them, you need to work with God. And you might be saying, well, that's easier said than done. Cool, I'm going to break it down for you. 1, know who you are working with. The main issue Moses had is he didn't know who he was working with. He sat there that whole time projecting his lack on an almighty sufficient God. I'm going to say it again. He spent all his time in the presence of God projecting his inadequacy, his lack, his unqualifiedness to an almighty, all-omnipotent God. That's why he goes ham on him in 4. That's why he's like, yo, I created everything. What are you talking about? I made you. What are you talking about? But how many times do we do that? How many times do we go to God and we be like, yo, God, I can't do this. You don't know me. I know you forgave me and everything, but you don't really know how I was feeling and what I was fixing to do at that time. And you forgave me, but it's cool. But you still don't know me. Anyone want to cop to that? Come on, raise your hands. Come on, we're here to get set free today, okay? We're here to get set free today. I was not given the amount of energy of like 7 espresso shots all this week for y'all to be silent and be like, It's time to let go of this stuff. It's time to let go of this stuff. It's time to let go of the inadequacy. It's time for you to stop walking around thinking that you're not enough. It's time for you to stop sitting up there living in the past. God is coming through and said, I got something new for you. I got something new for you. I got something you ain't seen before. And you're worthy of it. Hey, come on now. So know who you're working with. God provides liberation forever. And it's funny how God brings Moses to tell him that he wants to liberate the Israelites. But really, God's one of those people that'll do a 1-2 on you. God's a better boxer than the shadow boxer you think you are.
All right.
So, while he's sitting up there saying, you know what, I want to free the Israelites, what he's really trying to do is first liberate Moses from the idea that he's not enough. What he's first trying to do is say, you don't need to worry about being a foreigner. As long as you're with me, no matter where you step, that's home. No matter where I send you, that's it. That's done. You don't need to wait for a place to affirm you. We as a church want to liberate a lot of things. We as a church want to do a lot of things. We want to be we want to be a crazy move of God, a thinking move of God. And dare I say, we are a church that wants to be an audacious move of God. Right? Nothing's more audacious than for the outskirts
of religion to come and say, you know what? I'm bringing justice. I am justice. You think God's not within me? God sent me. Come on now. This is a church for LGBTQ. We can sit up here and go on Google and find every single line of scripture that is used against us. But what God is trying to do in this place is say, forget the scripture. See me in my living form. See me in places where you refuse to acknowledge me. That is what each and every one of you in the sanctuary and each and every one of you online is here to do. To be a catalyst to the people who have turned their faces away from God to say they do not carry the Spirit of the Lord. So, it's very important that you know who you're working with. That's the only one who's going to be able to hit the punches that you can't land. Next, go back with God. God always sends you back. Have you ever noticed that in Scripture? People go to God, they be like, God, I just came from so-and-so, this crazy over there. You need to help me. You don't even understand. They try to kill me back there. I'm lucky I even made it here to you. First thing normally out of God's mouth, besides, hey, how you doing? And, hey, I'm God. Just want to remind you of that. Seems like you forgot. He goes, go back the way you came. See, when you leave places that are toxic, there's a key to you for God. And what normally happens is you go to God and you say, take it away. He goes, no. Because if you came from there, that means I need to go there to fix it. So I need to go through you to get there. And you're the only one who knows the mechanics of that place. Some of you might be in really dysfunctional families. Amen. But you're here to get healed. You're here to get healed. You're here to be empowered so that you can go back to the dysfunctionality and be a light. When you carry that light, nobody denies it. Trust. Some of y'all come up to me, and I'm being big-headed. Some of y'all come to me and y'all be like, Brian, yo, thank you so much. Oh my gosh, it's great. Or, hey, Brian, good job. Or, you're really cool. I would love to take so much credit for that. I would love to. I want to say 25% of it is me. The rest is the enhancement of God. The rest of it was God saying, hey, you got these nice qualities, but with me, it's multiplied exponentially. You're nice by yourself, you're righteous with me. I just dropped that one. So he's going to send you back. Actually, it's funny. Because in the promise of being with you, you don't go back alone. God doesn't say, hey, go back there. First he says, so come. Come means inclusive. Come means we are doing this together. So when you get to those moments where you're like, oh man, I can't go back there. I can't go back to my past. Go back to your past and through your past with God. Don't revisit it by yourself. And there's a reason. Because in the idea that you're not qualified to do something, the key is that your preparation was in the past. When you apply for jobs, you don't just apply for jobs based on the title, right? Oh, I'm sorry. Are y'all okay? Please feel free to answer. Okay. what I try to say is you don't just go based on the title. You check to see if you're qualified, right? And when you check to see if you're qualified, you check to see what skills are needed. So, your preparation doesn't look like what you're about to be brought into. And the key to stepping into it is realizing that the skills you developed were in your previous experiences, even the dark ones, even the ones you don't like telling anybody about. That qualifies you for something. You might have gone through something really, really, really hard. But once you start working with God, you become an anchor for someone to realize that they're not alone. But if you don't face it with God, you will be a slave to the idea that it is your detriment, that it broke you, that it disqualifies you, when really it empowers you. We have a community garden outside. You don't got to be a gardener to work in that garden. The skills that you actually need are just a willingness to learn and a desire to see people fed good food. And then my last point. Ask the right questions. Moses, I love him because this is the first time we actually see somebody really go through a process of an encounter. God introduces himself by who he's associated with. He said, I'm the God of Abraham, I'm the God of Isaac and Jacob. And those guys before them, oh my gosh, they were so like on point. Abraham's just like, you know what, if you need to take my son, okay, we'll go up that hill, God. He ain't questioning him. He ain't going, whoa, why me? He was like, this is rough. We go up there. But with Moses, we start to see some valid questions. But a lot of his questions are just reflections of what he feels about himself. So I want to ask you guys, do the questions you ask God give God room to move or just answer? What I mean is, are you asking God for short-term solutions to long-term issues? When you have a crisis, are you going, God, fix it? Or are you going, hey, God, change me? How much room are you giving him in these questions? I want to close out by saying, you've been brought to a church that believes in peace, justice, equality, and care of Mother Earth. But you haven't just been brought here to sit and bask in it. You're here because God has called you to be the peace. You are here because he has called you to be the justice. You are here because he has called you to be the equality and to be the physical hands that mend Mother Earth. And if you don't get out your way, if you don't sit there, stop shadow boxing, you will be caught in a loop. You will be stuck. And that's not freedom. Your freedom is in the process. So don't just ask God, who am I? Be bold enough to say, who am I in you? Amen.
One more time for Brian. I like examples when you're learning and teaching. I had a song that I planned on message given to you, but sitting there and listening and feeling the spirit in this room, I often ask the Lord, Father, the Creator, to order my footsteps, so I know which direction I'm supposed to go into, and He has ordered me to sing another song. So I'm gonna obey. So here it goes. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever.
Do you want this one? No.
It's an honor to be here. Thank you. My name is Terry Anastasi, and I wanted to share a poem. This is called Cutting the Mustard. Matthew 17:20. And Jesus said unto them, If ye have faith as a grain of mustard seed, nothing shall be impossible unto you. The mustard seed is ground down, splattered on the wall, shattering glass jar, hurled with my Father's fury, splintered shards, sharp words, sorrow is ripening on the wallpaper. Beneath the cheerful orange-striped thin cotton t-shirt circling my xylophone ribcage, my tiny heart pounds out a song of panic. E, G, B, D, F. Every good boy does fine, but it's not fine. He frightens the music from me. Condiment browning ochre reminder on that wall. Tread lightly, for without warning it could all explode. I remain watchful, anxious, dread jumping from my 8-year-old chest. like a jack-in-the-box, handle twirling round and round the mulberry bush. How well we know the weasels. But I forget the mustard seed, and Faith is just the name of a pretty girl sitting at the same table, her cafeteria tray next to mine. She offers me a peach half and light syrup, a small gesture and hint of smile when I need it most. And sweet enough, I keep going.
Hi, I'm Donna Beal, and I love this church. So often we become what others expect us to be. I heard a quote by Kendrick Lamar. So the title of this poem is I'm going to start with my name. The new puppy was named before I picked her up. My other dogs became different bears. Sula Bear. Honey Bear didn't suit her. Had I known her better, had I known her coat would turn white as sugar, had I known her passion for laundry, I would have named her Socks or Underwear. Or Elvis for the way she snarls when I take her home. She gradually became Bear and gave up dirty laundry. My younger brothers were given biblical names. James, John, Joseph. They carried Bibles in their pockets. I was named after my dad before he was saved. The car talk guys say girls named Donna drive Camaros and smoke unfiltered cigarettes. And I did. You know, I think the gospel truth, the good news, is that we are free to be ourselves. I don't know about you, but I'm going to start with my name.
So, we experienced this morning, well, the only way I can think to say it has a cuss word in it, but it's Wedgewood, so I'm going to say a damn good time. Amen. And part of what I heard in that is the challenge to live into the cause that we have here. And so I'm going to take that challenge this morning to say that oftentimes when we talk about giving here at Wedgewood, we tell you that if you can't give, that's okay. And that is very true. If you don't have the money to give, that's okay. And I got a challenge this morning that we should also mention that if you can give, what does it look like to give to your full capacity to this church? And so that's the way that I'm going to listen to what I heard from Brian today, to adjust what I've been saying up here to say, one, if you can't give financially, that's fine. We get it. Also, we have a food pantry, so if you're ever in need between paying the bills and eating, pay them bills, get your food downstairs, which includes fresh goodies from one of our deacons here who's taken a lot of charge with our garden. And on the flip side, I'm also going to challenge you to say that if you are able to give, and able to give, to challenge yourself to give the most that you're able to give, because we need it. So, in that spirit, it's time to give. And if you picked up a visitor card and you haven't turned that in yet, you can also place your visitor card into the offering plate. So, all right, thank you.
You called out my name, knew my past, covered my shame. the singing of our doxology found in your chalice hymn books on page 47 or right in front of you on your PowerPoint screen. Praise God from whom all blessings flow. Praise God, all creatures here below. Praise God above the heavenly hosts. Creator Christ and Holy Ghost. Amen. You may be seated.
So I wanted to share this poem as part of my transition, having to kind of share that with my family, the decision to transition after 20 years of my job and making sure I had health insurance.
That's really
I didn't know what people's reaction would be. They had reached a point where it was not something that mattered as much as
Amen.
living the life that I was meant to live. And so if you can remember the Tanya Harding and Nancy Kerrigan, that's kind of my mother's reaction. Why? And so, but she had, in her own way, she'd gotten it right because I was always named Terry. It was one of those names that worked out. So all I had to do was change the I to a Y. And so this is called Terry with a Y. W-H-Y. Someone used to sing me to sleep before the insomnia, though even then I rarely dreamt, unless wide awake wishing to be somebody else, anybody but mine. I railed against powers that be for being, yet conformed constantly, fell in step, living inside a shell, hermit crab existence, clawing bare ambition, blistered on a hopeful stretch of road, running nowhere. Aimless good intentions counted for naught, steaming on good sport, tar-patched asphalt, paving my way to hell and back. Handsome fury on fire in me, finally, the courage to begin my truth, trusting, transitioning from ill-fitted, angst-filled aura of a woman I never knew nor wanted, into as much man as I can muster. Grand design, I am no longer afraid of the despair. My thudding heartstrings, snap bucket drop descending down cool, slick walls of the well-intended. There is nothing left to lose. Peering in at my own reflection, waiting for the splash, rippling, settling again, until finally, now, the only eyes I see through are my own.
Wow.
There are certain things we're really proud of in our lives, and one of the things I'm proud of is introducing Terry to Chris and Vicki.
Yes, so thank you so much.
This poem is called Picture Perfect. You hoped I would be like the girl in that silver frame you bought in the fancy store, who wore a sailor dress and white shoes. The one with well-behaved bangs, so straight and still, perfect as make-believe. I was a disappointment of these. Spent lunch money on candy, acted up in church, talked back. It wasn't your fault. You bought the Easter outfits. White polish was always in the shoebox. There is forever the urge to straighten out what was always a little slant. Your eyes make their rounds, hoping to find one little thing you would have done if you were me. Disappointment is written in the lines of your forehead. I see you searching even when you are not here. We hold up our differences like trophies.
Well, as Brian so wonderfully said, for us to be who God wants us to be, we have to deal with our past. Amen? Amen. And rather than listen to negative voices about ourselves, we have to listen to that positive voice from God. Wanted to let you know that Vicki and I will be hosting a meal for visitors on Friday, August the 3rd at 7 p.m. at our home. And we'll be sending that out to churches.
Chris,
Huh?
back into one of the cameras so they
Oh,
can see you
back into
online.
one of the cameras.
There you go.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
We're back into one of those cameras.
There you go. All right.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. I was trying to do my Brian impression.
I know.
Friday, August the 3rd, 7 p.m. at the Ayers home. You're invited to a dinner. Let me know if you have any dietary concerns. And the only thing you need to bring is a great appetite and wonderful stories. Now, we also have a visitor today, Kate, sitting on that back row that wants to share with us an announcement. You can welcome to come up here.
Yeah, come on up so we can hear you easy. So the online can see. Yes, the online can see. You come to the
Okay.
It's open.
All right, thanks. Good morning, everybody. Thank you. This is my first time, and I guess, well, you guys probably already know this, but this is way different from what is usually at church, right? Yeah, I know, it's crazy. Like, yeah, I know. Normally it starts with God loves everybody, and then you know how it ends. So it's a little bit different from the beginning, right? But yeah, I really loved it here. I'm just sitting there, like my heart is pounding, and like holding the tears back, listening to you guys sing, and you know, reading your poems. It's amazing how so many talented people are here, and it's funny that I'm here today too, because it's kind of on the same subject. I just wanted to let you guys know that, well, first of all, my name is Kate. I'm assisting a director in a little feature called Where Do We Go From Here? And we would love to use some local children, maybe ages like 9 to 12, somewhere in there. Since, you know, a lot of talented people are here, maybe we could help out somebody who doesn't sing or write poems. Maybe they just wanted to get in film, and it's really, really hard to get into. Maybe some of you are aware. So, yeah, that's basically the goal. And if, you know, you guys would like to recommend someone, if you don't have any kids, maybe you just know someone, or you have nieces and nephews who would love to participate and spend a fun weekend doing that, being in the movie, then, you know, you can come talk to me. I'm going to stay, you know, till the end, obviously, because I really, really like it here. So hope you know what I look like. And you have to look down to kind of notice me. But anyways, yeah, let me just, I hope I don't take too much of your time.
No,
I'm sorry.
tell us a little bit more about the movie.
So basically, it's a very sweet film, and it's, since we were looking for kids, you know, we're kind of discussing it, well, maybe we should talk to a church, and then we realized, oh wait, you always have to tell somebody, hey, it's an LGBT film. Isn't that crazy? Yeah. Like, why? Why does it have to be that way? I'm like, oh crap, like I didn't even think of that. So we figured that, it just came to me that we should probably reach out to a community of people who are interested in actually, you know, bringing everybody together and showing that, you know, that's just a part of life, right? That's what it's supposed to be. Mm-hmm. And another thing is, well, the director of the movie, the reason why she's doing the film is also to show that that part of life, like being a part of an LGBTQ community, like it doesn't always have to be dramatic, right? I don't know if you've seen any of the LGBT movies, but it's normally someone dying or a lot of sex and drama and stuff like that. But she wanted to make a really sweet film, a very nice coming-of-age story of two girls, you know, and it's just the script is like really interesting. It's just very, very sweet. We're going to be shooting in the in Charlotte area. It's going to be Charlotte and Mount Holly. In 2 weeks, it's going to be a weekend, Saturday, Sunday. Honestly, guys, can't promise that your kid is going to be participating, not because we're going to be picking and choosing, but because with extras, you never know how many people you have turning up, right? We would love to use everybody, and if we can, we're going to do that. It really doesn't matter, the ethnicity, anything. It's just the age of the kid. Maybe you're an adult, but you look 12. That's fine too. You can tell it before. We'd love to do that.
Denial.
You can totally do that. And also, what else? As far as compensation, it's an indie film, so you can probably understand, but we do promise everyone who's involved in the film an IMDb credit. Is anybody familiar with IMDb? Okay. Yeah. Sorry. All right. There you go. If somebody doesn't know, it's this database for actors and directors or whatever. And it's normally hard to get into. You can work in film for years and never get like an IMDb credit. So that could be a really good starting point for your child, if you really want your child to be like over there. That's a really exciting part. The things that we would like to know, if you want your child to participate, is any dietary restrictions, obviously, because we're going to be providing like catering and stuff like that. We also do everything according to labor laws and stuff, because children can't really work, right? But it's all, details. If you have any more questions as far as that goes, you can definitely talk to me. I'm going to be here. Stick around for that. If anybody has a question that they want to ask now before they forget, that's totally cool too. Questions? No? Okay. Perfect. Awesome. So thank you guys so much. I'm looking forward to hearing from you and seeing more of you guys. I live a little bit far away, but I do love it so much that, I really hope seeing you guys again. So come talk to me if you have anything to say or, anything to ask, okay? Thank you so much, Chris, for letting me share this with you folks. So.
You're welcome.
All right, well, you guys have a wonderful day, and talk to me.
We thank you so much for doing a good thing. Our benediction is go forth and live a poetic life. A poetic life being one that is real, one that is honest about all our emotions and honest about life's mixture of pain and suffering and joy. Go out nourished by words and songs and friendships new and old. Change the world empowered by the mystical presence of the one who created you, others, and the world. Amen.
Amen. Let them know if they want to receive.
If you would like to come forward for the Lord's table, we have it, the bread and the cup. For our bread today, we have fish, cheddar fish. Jesus told us we're supposed to be fishermen of people, right? Amen. And that fits in exactly with Brian's sermon. It's a call to action.